So today I'm going to be using my dedicated dehydrator, which has got about, I think about 8 trays. And then right next to it here, I'm going to be using the Instant Pot Duo Crisp, which is an 8-litre bowl. And I've bought this little wire tray set for the Instant Pot Duo Crisp because otherwise you wouldn't be able to dehydrate much at all. It's still going to be quite a small amount, but you can see these trays just fit together, and at least that means that I'll be able to do a small batch of dehydrating. When you dehydrate vegetables, they go down into a very small amount, so you want to do quite a lot so that you've got a decent amount when you've taken all that trouble to have your dehydrator or your Instant Pot going all day. So already I know this is one of the disadvantages of the Instant Pot Duo Crisp, but I think it's a great way of getting into dehydrating and trying it out and seeing if it's for you. And if you're going to one day end up buying one of the really good kind of catering style ones that can cost hundreds of pounds, it's really worth knowing first whether dehydrating is for you. So the Instant Pot Duo Crisps give you an opportunity amongst all its other functions to try it out, and we'll see how they get on. So here's the ingredients I'm going to be using today for this batch of bouillon powder. And I'd say the basic ingredients I always use are some onion, some carrot, some celery, and some garlic. And you can use all kinds of vegetables in there, so you work out over time what kind of things you like, but also what you happen to have and that needs using up. Now, I don't like to use vegetables that are really on their last legs because we are preserving here, so we want the veg to be in good condition. But I do use things like, for instance here, I've got some homegrown golden ball turnips that I've let get too big, and if I cook those up fresh, they'll be a bit woody, but that doesn't matter for making stock powder, and they're still very nutritious. So I will use this golden ball turnip. I'm going to put in a couple of potatoes. You could also use sweet potatoes. I'm going to use some tomatoes in there, of course, because I've got so many from this year's harvest. I'm going to use one of the last of the serpent squash. It is still fruiting, but I'd be surprised if I get many more now here in September. And I've got some kale here, and this has got a little bit of insect damage, so I'm going to use the undamaged bits and put those into the stock. Picked some chard just because I have it, and I'm going to use a few fresh herbs as well. I've got here some purple sage, some lemon thyme, and I've got some rosemary, so any herbs you like really. And you can also use some dried herbs and add those at the end, or leave them out altogether, just really dependent on your tastes. And then the biggest job in terms of dehydrating foods is slicing them all up. So let's get all of these prepared, and then we can get them into the 2 dehydrators I'm going to use. Okay, so it's only been, I think, just over 3 hours, and look at this. Some of these are done. That's extraordinary. It's super fast. Good thing about dehydrating is it's at very low temperature, so nothing is too hot to handle. So this is one of the slices of turnip that's not done yet, so we'll leave that in. Carrots nearly done, but not quite, I'd say. But actually that's pretty good, so let's get the lid back on. I'm going to check that again in another hour, I think. Let's check on the main dehydrator. Don't think anything's ready, no. Even these small pieces of celery are still very, very wet, as are the sage. Rosemary's close, garlic's still wet. So let's carry on and see what happens. So I think we can say that the Instant Pot Duo Crisp definitely wins on time, but the old basic dehydrator here wins on quantity, because there just would not be enough for bouillon if we just used the Instant Pot Duo Crisp. So let's go and do the final stage of making this vegetable bouillon powder. So once everything is dehydrated, we're ready for the final stages. So everything is super dry, and don't leave them out too long like this, because they can start to rehydrate, take in humidity from the air. So we're just going to add the final touches. A teaspoon of sea salt, some black pepper, and then I like to put in some turmeric. So I'll put in a teaspoon of turmeric. And that's it, we're ready now to blend. Use my trusty jam filter and get all of these into the blender cup. And if you're using whole sprigs of herbs, just take off the dried herb from the main stem, which will now be very woody. Brush up all the mess where I've completely missed the blender. So once you've blended it, you'll end up with something like this. And the smell is absolutely amazing. So all I need to do now is just get it in an airtight jar and store it in the dark cupboard. So that's how easy it is to make your own vegetable bouillon. And have a look at that, it smells absolutely amazing. If I am going to do some small batch dehydrating, you know what, I'm going to use the Instant Pot Duo Crisp.